but talk a little bit about how, I feel that people are either asleep or unaware, or it's just hidden from their view on their own creativity. And
Absolutely.
talk a little bit about that.
Well, I have to go back to the way the majority of us have been educated. Most of us have been educated in ways to err on the side of what's the answer? Fill in the dot. I need the answer yesterday versus falling in love with the process. And
Mhm.
the process is messy. The process is ambiguous. The process is actually where all the juicy bits are, and that's where all the discovery is. And once we graduate from high school or college or whatever we go on to do, we learn really quickly that it's super ambiguous when we're trying to problem solve in real time and not just meet clients' expectations, but exceed their expectations and delight them in ways that our products or services or experiences are going to meet their needs, not just on a functional level, but on a social and on an emotional level. So I know from personal experience that education is, we really have to drill down there when we think about how to normalize creativity and embracing creativity as being a core to who you or any listener is. I went to three very different sorts of schools by the time I graduated from high school. I'm from Philly. Go Birds! If this is
Go
still
Eagles.
the
Congratulations on the
Super
Super
Bowl love
Bowl.
is still high, but the first type of school, actually four different types of schools. The first school was a really crunchy granola, hippie, Unitarian, cooperative nursery school, super cool. And then I went to urban public, Philly public schools, which my parents quickly realized that my mom was having to drill my multiplication tables. I was getting an attitude because my friends didn't have to do that after school. She
Right.
was like, something's got to change. My dad then figured out we could go to suburban public school at a neighboring county, but that had a host of other issues, social issues. My sister and I were the first Black children in each of our classes. And while the academics were super great, that was really hard to balance. And then for seventh through 12th grade, I went to a stellar, incredible private Quaker prep school, earned a scholarship to go there. But by ninth grade, they said our dad was making too much money. So kind of the financial aid rolled back. All that to say, education was always the sacrifice for my parents and for my family. And it was essential, it was an essential value to my parents. But what I learned at that final school, the Quaker prep school, it was this totally different culture of learning. I had gotten so good at filling out the worksheets and getting the gold star and giving the teacher what he or she wanted.
Getting the answer.
Getting the answer to all of a sudden being in a learning environment where what was valued was ask a better question. Where what was valued
Yeah.
was ask forgiveness, not permission. And it was a ninja trick on my brain. My grades plummeted for 7th and 8th grade. So, I mean, I had to deal with like a campus environment. You change classrooms. I had to play strange sports with sticks, like field hockey and lacrosse,
Right.
different world. I adapted, but I remember by 9th grade, remember my friends from back on the block or friends I had who were at public schools. Wow, now I'm in an environment where we're basically getting trained to think of the questions. And I used to be in environments where I was just getting trained to stay in your lane
Yeah.
and give us the
Yeah.
right answer. So, what if the majority of us, where it was normal to be educated to fall in love with the process, right? To fall in love with being able to ask better and new and different sorts of questions. That is the fundamental scaffolding of building creativity as a competency. And it takes exercise, it takes practice. So it's no fault of anybody who's out there is listening who says, well, I kind of like Excel sheets. I like certainty. I like kind of knowing what the answer is.
Yeah.
That's fine. But in some of my keynotes, I have this slide where I remind people, only half jokingly, plans are fiction. Whether the plan is your budget or my daily morning to-do list or the Excel sheet, the reason why plans are fiction is because it hasn't happened yet. So what's more important, it's not that you throw away the plan, but you need to approach it in a much more adaptive way.
Sounds like a title to another book of yours down the road, Plans Are Fiction. I mean,
like
that is just so, that embodies just life because you have the concept academic plan, strategy, and then you have kind of what goes on in the court. I mean, take football, you draw up a play, great, but then the ball is snapped or that there's a tip off or it's inbounded and, all bets are off. You kind of got to have that agility and alacrity and flexibility